Hey, everybody, it's David, and welcome to the Building Your Own Economy show. We have today's guest, a special guest today. I think many of you and myself, want to know more about multifamily real estate investing. That is one of the best forms of investing today. It's one of the hottest topics in the world of investing today. It's one of the best tax saving strategies and one of the most influential, biggest upcoming stars in this industry. Paul Montelongo is here today. He's going to share with us some of the insights he's had in the industry, different types of investment strategies, how you get in these deals, how do you find the deals, how do you broker the deals. This is important information if you're an investor today trying to mitigate your taxes, get into multifamily, or just learn about opportunities that can change your life and help you build your own economy. And help me welcome my guest, Paul Montelongo. Paul Montelongo, how are you, my man?
I'm great. First of all, you said my name correctly. You
I
said
know
it.
how to.
You said it with the Hispanic flair that it deserves.
Hey, you got to say it
Mo-
right, man, if you're going to try to say it.
Montelongo. Although I'll tell you this, since we're going to do this, right? I'll tell you this. So people ask me all the time, well, what is, what's the origin of your last name? Is it Spanish? I'm like, my answer is, well, it's Spanish. Unless you owe me rent, then it's Italian.
Of course, because then, yeah, Italians got to get paid, baby. Rent's due,
I
man.
mean,
Well,
you use what you got, right?
there you go. Well,
Yeah.
welcome
Yeah.
to
Good to be
the
here.
Build Your Own Economy show. And God, I'm excited to talk to you today because this is a topic I get asked about a lot, and actually, it's a subject rather that people bring up quite often, especially in the circles that I hang out with. A lot of the times, the people I kind of talk to on a daily basis, we're always looking for the next investment strategy, the next big thing, because that's just how big thinkers think. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of our guests and our viewers here are going to get a lot out of this because, truthfully, man, this is a hot topic. I don't think it ever won't be a hot topic. By the way, would you agree with that?
No, it's always going to be top of mind. I mean, let's just let's get the elephant out of the room or in the room or that that
There's an
that
elephant here now. No.
there. Yeah, there's an elephant that died at the San Antonio Zoo. Anyway, you can look that up on your own. But I mean, people, there are a lot of people right now that are on the sidelines in real estate, and for a number of reasons, they want to sit and wait. They want to wait for the interest rates. They have some trepidation, some fear. I'm of the opinion, and I have it reinforced this belief through the course of my life. Hope we get to talk a little bit about that. That right now is about the best time that you can be in the real estate business. I saw it
Amen.
happen in '08, '09. I saw it happen in like the mid '90s or so, and then I saw it happen in the late '80s. It's so I want to dive into that, but it's a lot of it has to do with mindset. Now, that doesn't mean that, you go out and buy things today the way that you bought them a year ago or 2 years ago. No, there's some parameters here, but it starts with it's a great time to be in the real estate business. There
That's
are
right.
opportunities and deals.
Tell us about your background, man. How did you get
Oh, great.
into real estate?
Well, I've been in real estate all my life. So when I was a teenager, my father said, "You know what you need to do? You need to buy real estate. You need to invest in real estate." The odd thing is that he had not invested in real estate himself. He was he
He
was
was manifesting it.
do what I say, not what I do. But he was a teacher, he was a coach. He worked in the education system up until I was maybe 14 or 15 years old, and then he started a construction business, and I became part of that. But anyway, I did what most of us did when we were 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. I mowed grass, I raked leaves, I took out people's garbage, that kind of stuff, and saved my pennies. And I was able to buy my first piece of real estate at the age of 17. So
Really?
I bought a residential lot. It was a small, little bitty cul-de-sac lot here in San Antonio. It's where I live, where I was born and raised. And I had grandiose ideas. I was going to build a spec house. I was going to sell it. I was going to make, at that time, I was going to make tens of thousands of dollars. Uh, but I was 17 years old. And I did not know anything. I didn't know where to start. I just had this idea. So 2 years later, I sold that piece of property. By the way, I bought that piece of property for $7,500. 2 years later, I sold it for $15,000. So I doubled my
Whoa.
money at the age of 19 years old. And I did exactly what you're supposed to do at 19 years old with profits from real estate. I bought a truck and a motorcycle.
I was gonna say a Corvette.
No, I had to have a motorcycle. Anyway, so I of course then I learned later that you reinvest your profits, and I bought another house at the age of 21, and then the lady across the street was selling her house, and I bought it and I flipped it, and so as time went on, I bought and sold homes, single family residences. I would buy them, I'd fix them, I'd flip them. This was well before flipping was a thing, a sexy thing on with the Flip
On
Brothers or
TV.
whatever. Yeah. So, what are those two guys, the twins? Anyway, so this was before HDTV, but there was an opportunity there, and real estate always seemed to make sense to me. Now, simultaneously, I was running a construction company. I was running a insurance restoration company. Your house burned, my company would fix it. I had connections with insurance companies. So I've always been in some form or the other in real estate, in construction, in this space. So it's been a lifetime of real estate, and I've seen the market do crazy things up and down. And I recall, in I guess it was the mid '80s or so, interest rates 19%.
Wow.
People are belly aching right now about 6.5% interest rate. Come on, it was 19% back then, and there were still deals to be had. So it's a matter of knowing what to look for and how to look for them. So anyway, that's been the trajectory. And then in 2014, I bought my first multi-unit property.
Wow.
So I had done commercial, some buildings and this kind of thing in the past, but somewhere along the way, someone convinced me that okay, Paul, you're flipping a house. That's one transaction. That's one sale. That's one check. And then guess what? Once you get that check, then you got to go find another house, buy it, fix it, flip it, sell it. So it was these were single transaction events. And someone convinced me that the better way to do this is to have one transaction, but to receive multiple checks from those transactions, from that one transaction, multi-unit. So my first acquisition was a marina slash RV park. The marina had 110 boat slips. The RV park had, I believe it was 24 or 26 RV spaces, and it was a membership club. So the more people that were there, the more monthly membership due. So these things made sense to me in terms of, multiple checks, one transaction. And so since then, I've been buying apartment complexes, multiple doors. So I have a 70, an 88, a 142, a 192, a 56, uh, that, and then I had some others. But you can see they're all, you know, in the double digits, and that's just multiple streams of revenue
Heck
coming in.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this quite some time, man. So like what, 10 years?
Everybody's got jokes today.
Hey
Yeah,
man,
no,
it's
I
just
mean, I don't mind saying, I bought my first property in 1977. 1977.
amen. That
So,
is
so here
freaking
we are.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. I, I,
you know,
I don't, I don't know how much dollar volume, but I'm sure it's well over 100 million. You know,
I would imagine
100,
so. So
150 million. Yeah.
so a background today, now what do you do focus on? Like how do you help people, or what do you focus on every day doing in this industry now?
Yeah, so my full-time job now is buying and selling apartment complexes. Period. End of
Okay.
story. I buy,
That's
I put in an offer today. I put in another offer in 2 days ago in another property. I'm closing on two transactions right now before the end of December. Actually, before December 10th. Yeah. So that one of them is 140, and the other one is close to 90 units. So um, yeah, that's full time, full time. Now, the other piece that I do that I really enjoy is that I mentor. So, I, it's a funny thing, this mentorship thing, because everybody has a product to sell, and believe me, I'm the first one in line to go buy those products for mentorship and coaching. I have spent well over $250,000 with coaches and mentors and coaching programs through the course of my life. In fact, well, now that number's bumped because I just invested $45,000 to be a part of a really exclusive mastermind program for multifamily.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, multifamily. Well, I mean, it's like if you're in it, you're in it.
That's right.
So,
You're committed. You're
and
committed.
you're committed, and I think that's the biggest issue that people have is they don't, they don't want to commit, right? So once you commit, you commit. So that's what I do, full time, 100%. But
That
I
that's
was
awesome.
talking, yeah, a little bit about the mentoring, and that's one of the things that I do a lot is I mentor. I mentor young entrepreneurs. I mentor people that want to get into the business, and guide them and direct them. If they need help buying a property, I can offer that. If they just need help working them through the process, I can do that as well. To
That's
me,
really
that's
cool, man.
yeah, very fulfilling. Yeah.
Really, yeah. I think that there's this in success there becomes this kind of escalation or the ascension, if you will, of success in any industry. If you niche down and you focus on one thing, you become very, you start and you start making money, and then you kind of, work your way up the ladder. Once you reach a certain level of understanding of what we'll call it conscious, competence or unconscious
Yeah.
competence, you now be able to give, and it becomes part of just who you are, right? You just start becoming a giver of information, of insights, because it's fulfillment. It's part of the journey. It's like each one teach one kind of deal. And
Correct.
I think that's where you are right now. And actually, the reason why I wanted to have you on here is because I want to learn. I think this is something that everybody should think about. And I definitely personally have not done a big deal like this. And
Hmm.
I want to do some big deals. So I got to learn, man. This is what the guests are going to get here. We're going to talk about that. So let's kind of move forward and let's talk about. So right now I'm in the market. Obviously, we've talked about doing some things together, and we haven't committed yet, but obviously, these are things we want to do. And what I'm thinking here is, let's say I wanted to go find a deal today, and let's say I had some money, and I just said I want to go do a deal. Tell
Sure.
me how you find deals. Like if you were going to coach me to go find a deal, how would somebody find one of these multi-unit deals?
Okay, great. So let's just pretend that you're just green as can be. Like you have no background in multifamily properties. None. All right. So your
Yep.
biggest resource right now is brokers. And that I've only bought one property that wasn't through a broker. So all the properties I bought were for brokers. I don't cut brokers out. I don't cut agents out. They are an integral part of the deal flow and the pipeline. So your number one job is to establish relationships with a handful of brokers. Now, that broker is going to look at you and go, "Well, how do I know you can perform? You've never performed before. You've not bought anything from me. You've not bought anything on your own. You're asking me to find you a $10 million apartment complex. Who the hell are you?" Is the undercurrent of the conversation.
I,
True?
I, I want to go a little deeper than that. How do you find
Yeah.
the broker? Because it's interesting. I have not committed to doing my own deal like at
Hmm.
a large scale. I've done a lot of commercial,
Hmm.
residential, small multifamily. But every time I talk to a broker, I mean, these could be commercial real estate brokers, residential. I've talked to a lot of brokers. A lot of
Hmm.
them don't know jack about multifamily, and if you did, they wouldn't even know where to find a deal for themselves, much less for me. So, like, who are these brokers? Do they have some sort of specific designation, or what would be the characteristics of a broker that I'd be looking for?
So you want to start with the big brokerage houses, CBRE, Marcus and Milchek, JLL, you name them. Those Brookshire Hathaway. You want to start with those major brokerage houses, and you pick a market. So I live in San Antonio, so your most natural market that you will select is your backyard. I think everybody, unless you live in a really, small market that doesn't have much activity, most markets are adequate for you to invest in your backyard. You can go see the project. You know the temperature of the city. You know what things are moving and shaking, and you can actually go meet eyeball to eyeball with brokers, shake hands, and develop that relationship. So you're going to find those brokers who are actually doing deals. Now, to your point, you know, the largest, like the largest part of deals that are done by a very small percentage of brokers.
I would guess that. That's what I was
So,
guessing.
there's some numbers out there. I'm just going. I don't know if these are official, but they're probably pretty close. Like 90% of all deals that are done by like 4% of realtors and
Oh
brokers.
yeah, yeah. In
So
the multi-unit space or in all space? Because I'd guess in all
in
space.
all space, in all space, in all space, pretty much my experience. So
I agree with that.
you're gonna develop those relationships with that 4% or 5%, however many, you pick the number. So you're going to
So
develop, and it's like, okay, David, I see that you sold Maple Street Apartments over here about it. Congratulations. How'd that transaction go for you?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How long did that transaction take? Did you have to retrade? How are the interest rates affecting your buyer's ability to perform? How did you meet the seller? How did you help the seller sell that property? Was the
So
buyer easy to work with? Did you help with financing? I want to know you. I want to know how you did your business. Because guess what? You ask somebody a question, and you listen with intention, but they're just going to spill it all out to you. And so then from that bank of information, now you have some things to talk about with David, the broker who sold Maple Street Apartments. And guess what, David? Eventually, you're going to ask me, so Paul, what are you interested in? And I will have already, designed in my head, okay, I'm interested in a class B property that needs some facelift, and maybe it was built in the mid 80s. There's a whole set of parameters, right, that I will address with you. Your next question to me, because you're a guy that's not going to waste your time and money on newbies, Mr. Broker, because you're out selling more Maple Streets apartments, is what have you done? How many doors, how many units do you have currently? That's your question to me, the newbie. So, what I teach and what I mentor is for a person that's new is to use me as a resource. Now, not just anybody can do that. There's a vetting process, obviously, but let's just say that, there's a person out there that I've vetted and we've been, mentoring. I've been mentoring them. He can say to you, David, I'm with a group of high net worth investors, and we buy multifamily apartment complexes in emerging markets like San Antonio.
got it.
Now, everything about that is true because that individual is with me, a high net worth, experienced multifamily owner, operator, investor. And so all he's got to do is produce my bio to you, David, and it's instant credibility. And
So
and
so so just to
yeah,
be clear, I mean, not to cut you short here, but just to be clear, you're saying there's only going to be a few people in the brokers world that you're going to find that can close or that understands the parameters of deals that actually closes deals. And if you do meet them, they're going to vet you first. Is that what you're saying? They're going to vet me as
100%,
the buyer.
100%.
Ah,
And why wouldn't they? Yeah.
I mean, no, I get it, and that's cool. So I mean, then it would be somewhat. I mean, how does anybody get in this then if I go in, I'm just like, well, I'm just a poor little tax strategist, got a little bit of money in his pocket.
Well,
I'm trying.
because I know you, you wouldn't have a problem. Because
I'm a
seriously,
little guy.
the best students, the best people that have come through my mentor program are the ones that are hungry. Like for whatever reason, for whatever circumstances happen in their life, for wherever they are in their life, they're hungry and they have the desire. So they're not just going to talk to you, David the broker, one time. They're going to talk to you, David the broker, multiple, multiple,
Got
multiple
it.
times. And David, you're going to send me a deal, and it's not going to work. But I'm also going to go back to you and I'm going to go, David, this is why it didn't work.
Got
Now,
it.
what's the value in that?
Gives me a perspective of what I can do to change in the future to make that deal work.
Correct. Because what's you're the broker. What's your ultimate gain here?
Heck yeah. I got to
What you
close deals.
commission?
Yeah, I got
You're
to close
looking
deals.
to draw a commission and service your client. So the more information I can give you, the more feedback I can give you while I'm establishing that relationship, the more
So
opportunity you'll more opportunities you'll send to me. Yeah.
of course. So I find a broker. I vet myself, or they vet me. Because I mean, to be truthful, it is interesting that you say that. Because every broker I've ever asked, like, hey, if you see anything, you run anything, they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like none of them ask me parameters by which to look. None of them have any, And I always know they're not going to do. To be quite honest, they're not going to do shit because they don't. They're not even interested to find out what kind of buying capacity I have or what kind of what thing I'm looking for. How can you find something for me if you don't know what I'm looking for? And it's
Right.
interesting to me. So let's say I find a broker, I establish a relationship, somebody who is credible, and I can prove myself or associate myself with somebody like yourself to
Hmm.
build some credibility, get
Hmm.
myself in front of a broker. What am I looking for if I'm trying to buy deals? What am I trying to find if I'm looking for a deal like maybe a dollar? And I know you expressed something about Class B. Can you tell
Yeah.
me? I mean, let's
Yeah. Yeah.
start there. What are classes?
Well, you got Class A, B, C, D. Class A is your night.
Well, I fit in the D class, but what about everybody else?
Cla- Class A is, I own a Class A in Wichita, Kansas. It's 70 units. It was built in 2016. It's an industrial look. It's got covered parking and a gated, the nice amenities, a newer build, higher rent, those kinds of things. So
So
that's your Class A.
that would be like a Class A. Is that's how you define it? Maybe a nicer property with more amenities.
Newer
Um,
build, more amenities.
got it.
Gym,
The
gymnasium,
location.
business, good location, gymnasium, business center. I even saw a Class A not too long ago with one of those simulated golf, um, screens in it, right? So that's Class A.
So these would not be Section 8 housing.
Correct. Then you have Class D, and that's the property that you carry your weapon with you when you go visit that property. All right, those are those.
I have a small multifamily in a neighborhood like that. I go packing.
Yeah, yeah. And then you got B and C. So there's your levels: A, B, C, D, and a B is some amenities, little newer build, garden style, which is 2-story, and then C is just a little bit below that. So you can the ideal or the optimal is to find a good C that is in a B neighborhood, or to find a low B that's in a B neighborhood. And so with some of the facelift that you give it, some of the rehab that you give it, now it moves it up a little bit, and makes it a nicer property, more appealing to tenants.
What is the now that you're saying this, because that's what I would be looking for. What would be like the one thing if you had to pick one thing to improve when you purchase a, let's say, a low B and you're trying to get it from a B minus to a B plus or a C plus to a B minus or something? What's that one thing that you're like, if we just upgraded this one thing, it would probably make it look, or it could get us very close to a B? Is there one thing that you can do?
Curb appeal.
Okay, so
Curb
the
appeal.
outside.
Yeah. So when a prospective tenant is out there hunting, looking for a place, you want them to pull into your driveway. And the only way they're going to pull into your driveway is if you've got a lighted marquee, your fresh paint on the outside, some nice landscaping. The wrought iron fence around your property is painted. So curb appeal. If that's the one thing that gets someone to actually pull into your property to take the next step, which is a visit, a walk, with the property manager.
Well,
So
that's pretty cool. I mean, I would have guessed something like that, but I mean, and that doesn't take much money now that I think about it. I mean, paint
no,
and
no, 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 no. It's
some
just it's
shrubs or something. Maybe cut the grass, paint a
well,
little
it
bit. Yeah.
doesn't take much money, doesn't take any permitting, doesn't take a whole lot of creativity, um,
I ain't
and
got
it doesn't
that.
ta- and it doesn't take a lot of time. These are things that you can literally get done in just a matter of the first couple of 3 weeks that you own the property.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
then right there, you're going to raise the rents just because of that.
Well, I think your question was, what's the thing that I could do to draw
Okay.
people in? So
Okay. So
all right, but
what
that's
could I
not
raise
the
rent
answer.
with?
That's not the answer for how I increase the value of the property. Because at that moment, I've only spent money. correct? Like
Yep.
it's a capital expenditure, most of it is, and I've only spent money. So how do I then increase the value of the property? Well, the curb appeal is going to help a tiny bit because it'll bring more renters in, and the
More
perception,
leads.
more leads, and the perception is I can charge a little bit more for rent. Okay, but the tangible things that increase value are things like a washer and dryer connection, uh, charging the appropriate amount of pet fees. We bought one property, and the when we did the lease audit, in other words, when we evaluated all the leases, only 4 leases had pets identified on them. Well, when we walked the property during our due diligence inspection period, there were 45 pets. So that's what's the number on that? That's 41 dogs that were not being charged,
Hey,
right?
during COVID, everybody got a dog, man.
So do the math, right? So you love numbers. 41 dogs times $25 a month times 12 months.
Twenty-four
That's
thousand bucks.
20, 24, $25,000 of additional revenue to your property that wasn't there when you bought it, and all you had to do was go buy a poop station. One of those
With the
poop
little
bags
bags,
with
little bags.
the little green poop station with the bags in them, right? So, um,
That's interesting, by the way, because curb appeal brings the leads, simple things like, and it's really true though, because I can tell you about that, the washer and dryer. When we have two little small multifamily properties, and the first thing everybody asks when they come in, does that washer and dryer hook up?
right,
I mean, that's what they want, and so some of the units didn't have it. We had to put it in,
right. They
and
don't want
but
to. They don't want to walk down to the laundry.
laundromat or whatever. And as soon
Yeah,
as we did that, by the way, we could raise the rent 50 to 100
absolutely,
bucks.
absolutely.
It,
So there,
it's
yeah, there are all kinds of little charges like that, and if you're picking up an extra 15, $20, $25, $35,
it adds up.
it adds up, and it adds up quickly to the bottom line, which is what you want because that improves your NOI, net operating income, which improves your value.
Okay,
So,
so let's talk about this, because so the allure here is everybody wants to get into real estate, and it's like this big thing because people believe that if you just get real estate, you'll be rich, because you just do simple math in your mind and you say, okay, if I got one house and it gave me $1,000 a month, that's great. If I did 2 or 3 or 5 or 6, then I get all these thousands every month. And the same concept is when it comes to multifamily. They say, well, it's not a lot per door, but let's say it's $200 a month that I get to make, and 200, I have 50 doors or 100 doors. The challenge is that you and I both know it's not that easy, and it's not that type of money. There's money in the deal, but it's not necessarily in just cash flow, right? And so, can you explain to us like how it works cash flow wise? Like, what do people should expect to get in returns? Where's the big money made in this deal? So that just so everybody understands the mechanics of the deals, because I think this is something that people don't understand the most.
yeah, sure. So first of all, the big mind block is the money is the barrier to entry. So I'm just going to use round numbers. There's a $10 million property out there, and you're going to go buy a $10 million. Well, so the thinking is, where in the heck do I get $10 million? Well, you don't have to have $10 million. You only have to have seven because you're going to. You only have to have three because you're going to borrow seven. All right. So the next question is, where do I get $7 million, or where do I get $3 million? The gap. All right. So there's a way to do that, but you're and I'll cover that. But your $10 million property, first of all, you have to go through all the steps to make sure that the valuation of it is correct and that you're not overpaying. Like any other property, you go down here and you buy $100,000 flip house in your local neighborhood. You better not overpay for it. That's just real estate 101. What's it
Of
really
course.
worth? Now, once I buy that $10 million property, then what do I have to do to make it an $18 million property? And that $18 million property in less than 5 years. Because a typical multifamily transaction, the business model says we hold it for 5 to 7 years.
Why five
And,
to seven?
eh, well, you're okay. That's a good question. That's a good question. The term of your loans are now 10. So back in old school, but when I first got in, the hold was 7 to 10, because at 10 you had to get a new loan, refinance the property, and rather than go through all that trouble and expense, you just sell the property early. But in the recent 3 years, properties are selling in a year or two. So the time frame that we're holding properties now is a little bit less because the properties were flying off the shelf. Now, I think we'll have a readjustment. We'll be holding the properties longer. So we factor in a 5 to 7 year business model. But the
Just,
loans are,
you're just saying based on your experience,
yeah,
understanding the trend, seeing those
yeah.
things. So it's not like a perfect formula. It's actually experience based.
That and lenders are going to give you a 10-year loan. Now, the reality is the market's going to tell you when to sell it. The market's going to tell you, oh, you're only at year 2 and it's worth X dollars. Get out. It's great, you know. Or the market's going to tell you, hey, maybe you need to hang on to it for another couple of years. So when you're in it, you're always evaluating the market. The market's going to tell you. So the upside in these properties is the real upside. There is the exit, or what we call the disposition. So once you, the owner operator, has built the value in it, added the appreciation, turn it into a good property, has stable tenants. Now you can sell it to somebody like you that wants to buy it for a long-term investment, and that process is 5 to 7 years. But you get all the equity gain out of that from your hard work and from managing it. That's the real upside. Along the way, you get some what we call distributions or dividends. You get some cash on cash, and that cash on cash can be anywhere between 6 and 12% per year on your money. But then the real upside is after you sell it, then you're looking at, when you average it all back in, you're 20% or better as an average on your money. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
we don't promise these; we project these, but that's historically what's happening, about a 20% per year return.
So 20% on my money. So I give you 100, 1,000, and you're talking about year over year average.
So when you take the life of the loan and average it out, that's what you come up with, the 20
Got it.
20%.
Okay. I mean, that's still
Yeah.
pretty damn good.
Oh
You
yeah.
got an asset that's appreciating. You got a return that's coming in the future. You've got an association probably with a very powerful group of individuals. So it's kind of a good. I mean, there's a lot of things that are an upside in real estate, especially multifamily. So I get into a deal. I found a broker. I've identified the broker. I understand types of properties I'm looking for. I understand that I'm not looking at making money like as the majority of the money isn't made until the disposition or the exit, which is good to understand. I mean, obviously you want to make money along the way, but it's not as fruitful as many people would believe in the beginning. It's an exit strategy, correct?
Right, and it is, but I'll add one little twist to it, and that's the refinance twist. So somewhere along there, year 3 to 4, if you have the ability to refinance the property and then take equity out of the property and distribute that back to yourself and your investors. Actually, it's the other way around: investors first, yourself second. So if you redistribute that equity, um, then that's not a taxable event, right? So now you're pulling your initial investment back, and you're still in
The
the
deal.
asset, the deal, through the remainder of the life of the deal, pulling out income. So
Well, that's interesting. So, on your side, you understand the mechanics of the returns, the disposition, the refinance, the dividends, the payments that are going to come out, which is amazing. So, I mean, we both know that one of the biggest advantages here is really tax savings, right? I mean, that's really where the big gold is in most of these cases, because the majority of the people who get into these deals are getting into a deal on a long-term strategy. So that means the long-term gain is going to take some time, and most people have to benefit off the gain immediately, right? Because that's what we want. We don't want to just park money for 5 years and not see anything. And so I
so the
mean, you
gain
see this
that
all the time.
yeah, the
What's
gain
that?
there is the tax advantage,
Yeah, that
the
is
the
the tax
immediate gain,
advantage.
the immediate gain.
So, what do people ask you about the tax advantage? And maybe you want to ask me those questions. But what do you think most people are confused about the tax advantages of buying multifamily?
Well, first of all, they want to know, and I'll tell you what the feedback I get, and then maybe you can give the answer as the pro
There
in
you
it,
go.
right?
Let's do
So
it.
the first question is, am I a part of the deal? Okay, I'm a passive investor. I'm a limited partner, but am I a part of the deal? Because if I'm not part of the deal, then I don't get the tax advantages. So if I'm a part of the deal, so a passive investor is part of the deal. So do they get those tax
Of
advantages?
course. First off, if you're part of a real estate investment, especially a syndication, and there is pass through depreciation that comes through, which, just to be clear, from a high level, depreciation for the audience that's not aware of this is basically a deduction that is given to a asset that can be expensed over time. So, the IRS has these codes and they define assets for a useful life, like your cell phone has a useful life and this desk has a useful life, and everything that is an asset that you purchase for the purposes of doing business has a useful life. And real estate, for an example, has a 27 and a half year useful life for residential. And so when you get 27 and a half years, you divide that into the price of, well, the investment, whatever that may be, minus the land costs. So it's kind of a formula. All you would do is just whatever you buy the property for, subtract what you think the land is worth, and then divide it by 27 and a half. Well, when you're buying multifamily or larger properties, you can do things that can help you in that realm of depreciation, because depreciation subtracts from your profits, which
Hmm.
can help any business if you can use it. And so accelerating that is a process that you can do. There's things that you do to basically accelerate the depreciation, and then you get the benefit of that, which means a lot more deduction in one single year. And this year is a good year because you get 100% of bonus depreciation this year, which will really help people. And we could kind of talk about that in a minute. But really, to get back to this, is when you think about real estate, the biggest tax advantage is the depreciation that's going to be credited to you as a participant in a real estate investment, and it can benefit you 100% of the time. It may not always benefit you all in one year, because depending on the type of structure you are and the type of investor you are in other things and the type of income you earn in other areas, but it will always benefit you. So
Right.
there is no negative benefit to investing in real estate. In fact, it's always positive. It just depends on your strategy. It depends on what your goals are, and definitely in every syndication that we have ever supported, in the sense of not financing, in the sense of taxation, we always advise our clients, hey, let's first off look at your tax situation currently and make sure that the investment that you're doing or working through can really help you, because the gold is there. That's where the gold is, because you're going to immediately lose, or you're immediately going to win. I was going to say lose taxes, but lose and win at the same time a tax deduction, which is amazing, 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 amazing. That's why I wanted you here, by the way, Paul, because I love real estate, as you know, and I think this is the one thing that most people don't talk enough about, and the wealthy people, they know it, right, Paul? I mean, they
Oh,
know
they do.
this.
So let's be clear on a couple of things. This depreciation, this is not just an arbitrary number. The IRS says that, a bona fide depreciation or cost segregation company has to do the evaluation, and they assign values to, like a dishwasher has a certain value, and windows have a certain value, and you know what else, roofs have a certain value, so that sort of thing, right? So it's a bona fide evaluation. And then um, I just confused myself and forgot what I was saying. Forgot what I was.
Don't worry, we'll cut that out.
Leave it in. It's human. Anyway, so oh, I know. Okay, so a person, you, these kinds of investments are larger for a reason. Number one, the asset costs more. There's more to it, but the investment in a larger asset gives you the opportunity to have greater depreciation. So I use, again, round numbers, 10 million. If you're investing in a $10 million property, that is different from investing in a $300,000 property in terms of the volume and in terms of the tax benefits. Now, you don't always get 100%, but you get a proportionate amount to your benefit, and that's when somebody goes to somebody like you, and you do that evaluation and go, okay, here is the best option for you. Um,
Well,
And
I'm going to stop you real quick because
yeah, yeah.
this isn't to downplay, or not downplay. I guess the word would be, I don't want to make it sound like there are bad people out there, but there are. I get clients who come all the time to me. Or I got a lot of clients who have come to me in the past. Let's say that, and today, who have said to me, David, I purchased into this syndication in this big deal, and here's my K1 from the deal, and we get it, we process it, and we start working on the return, and we realize that the tax benefits aren't as lucrative as they were promised. And a lot of that has to do not with the bad deal. It has a lot to do with them not understanding initially the types of benefits that they can benefit from in the tax code. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is I don't think this is you. I think you're very smart and you're helping your clients, your investors, figure out what best is best for them. But I recommend anybody who's doing real estate investing work with a tax strategist, somebody who can help you understand the benefits of every single investment, not just real estate, any investment. Because if it really makes sense that you can do this investment, then maybe instead of just putting 100K in it, or 50 or whatever the number is, the minimum, you could put more because you know that the savings are going to outweigh the implications of the investment initially, like the down payment. And a lot of people don't do that. They just arbitrarily just throw money at something because somebody in a syndication that's running a deal says, hey, you're going to be rich as hell. Just do it, right? And that's not fair to them, in my opinion. I think everybody who invests in real estate should know the tax benefits before they invest in the deal, just because it makes sense. Because most deals don't pay you very fast. And if you're going to put money into a deal and it's not going to pay you fast, or you're not going to see benefits, you're still going to have a big tax liability and you lost all your cash, or you invested your cash. And let's just say it that way. So do you
Yeah,
agree with that? And
I
that's
do.
something we should do?
I don't know where it started or who started it or how, but the idea that real estate can get you rich quick is a misnomer. It is a long
You know where
play.
it comes from is from you guys when you're doing fix and flips. Let
It
me
is a long 3 months. No, I'm just kidding.
let me tell you something, actually. So this is interesting because fix and flip and buy and hold, multifamily, like there's all these ideas out there, Burr methods and things.
Right.
Here's what I've learned. Here's what most people need to see is that the reason you can make a lot of money fix and flipping is because it's a business. It's not real estate investing. It's a business. You're not investing in real estate. You're doing and acting in a business activity. It's just like this morning I was coaching, or not coaching, I was consulting with a new client. And she says, well, David, I'm thinking about buying real estate. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about this real estate you're trying to buy. And her impression was buying real estate was going to make her super rich. And I said, okay, so if we put 100,000 down on this property, it's going to cash flow this, it's going to make you this. I said, so you're going to make probably, let's say, 5,000 a year net profit. And she says, that's it? And I said, well, that's still good. Like that is good. And she says, if I put that 100,000 into my business, I would turn that into 300,000. And I said, because that's a business, not a real estate. It's not an investment. It's a real estate. It's a business activity. So that's why you can make so much money doing flipping, because it's a business activity, not real estate investing. Is that a good definition of what you would say is true?
I would say, and let's be clear too. I still flip houses every once in a while, just for the cash. No, no kidding. My wife and I, we'll flip, I think, 4 houses this year. Okay, so we're gonna get 35 or $40,000 off of each flip. That's pocket change. That's walking around money. Okay, I mean that I don't mean to downplay it, but that's cash. Okay, um, and I heard something the other day, and I'm repeating it on purpose because it's just meant it sounded so good to me, and it ties into what you do. And the more money you make, the more taxes you pay. But
That's
the
right.
more wealth you build, the less taxes you pay. So the transactional activities of a flip or a wholesale or an assignment or any of those very, very short, a subject to, or any of those very short term type real estate transactions, they'll get money into your pocket, but they won't build wealth for you and your family.
Mm.
They won't build long-term dependable cash flow. And that's
No,
where, in my view, and maybe it's because I'm at this place in my life, that in my view, that's where the real rewards are, is, a portfolio of appreciating assets that you can hold on to, you can pull out as you need, you can use them to leverage other purchases. This is now the business of building wealth than going then that's
I,
different than going out on a transactional basis.
if I were to kind of advise somebody who was just start wanting to be in real estate and they had no cash, all I would say is, okay, be a wholesaler, make some money, right? Get that money,
And then
buy a
go buy
house,
real estate.
flip it, do a few flips, build up a little cash, a nest egg, buy another house. Eventually, you can buy one either cash or through financing, buy and hold. Like it's an ascension. You've got to start
Sure.
wholesaling first, go to flipping, then get into actual investing, and then they get to your level, multifamily. Like it's just a gradual growth. And some people get into this wanting to think it's good at the top. It's hard. And to be truthful, I think that I would say probably 90% of people who want to be in real estate at some point just don't even need to be in real estate physically. They don't need to participate. They just need to work with somebody who's an expert, give them their money, and just let them go do what they do best. If you're a doctor, if you're a dentist, if you're a business owner, you're a high net worth, high performing, hyper growth person out in the world right now who is thinking about getting into real estate and you're like, I have aspirations of doing this, but the moment that you lose focus in your business, you're going to lose money, then don't lose focus. Just put your money to work with somebody to make it work. And that's what I think most people are missing today. I think there's this allure that you have to do it yourself. I don't believe that anymore. Actually, after meeting you and a few other people, I'm just going to give you my money, Like that's the way we should do it. Is
Yeah,
that fair?
it is fair. It is fair. The vast majority of investors in our properties are non-real estate professionals. They're physicians, they're dentists, they're chiropractors, they're technology individuals. They can code and do that kind of stuff, and or they're business owners. I have one investor that he owned a medical company for a long time, so he was in the you know medical field, not a physician, but he just he did provided products and services. So he took his money and he buys real estate. So, I can go, eventually I could go learn to be a dentist, and eventually I could do code and be a technology person. And eventually I could learn to be a professional tax strategist like you.
You
But
could,
if
huh?
I,
No, I'm just
but
kidding.
maybe,
I'm just joking with you. Yeah, I got you.
I'd probably come in second place though. But
Yeah.
but my lane, is real estate. That dentist, his or her lane is dentistry, and so forth. And so, I think it's a good. If there's anything that I've learned through life, it's like the more you can stay focused on what you're good at and what got you there and what your lane and what your area of expertise is, because you've established this huge level of credibility at that level. The more you can stay there, just the richer your life and your work becomes, because now you're doing it because you love it, you're good at it, it's fulfilling. And then if you do some supplemental things, that's cool. But in order to make your money work, then you give it you know,
A
uh, to
professional. It's just a
professionals.
professional. It's like
Yeah,
I don't want to put my money in the market directly because that truly is like going to a roulette table and putting your money on number, five. I want to spread the love, give it through a registered investment advisor, work with them. If I want to
sure.
invest in real estate, I should be going with a professional, especially at a high level. If it, if you've never done real estate in your life and you don't have a ton of money, you should figure it out because that's just something I think most people have to do. But if you figured it out in business, you're making some money. I think
Well,
multifamily is
well,
the way
let's
to
go a
go now.
step further. Well, it is anything multi-unit and multi. Why multifamily? Why did I pick multifamily? Because there's a lot of multi-unit properties, type properties. Multifamily, because people need a place to live. And even when there is economic hard times, people still, and they can't buy a house because the mortgage rates are too high, or there's the jobless rates are high. Whatever those contributing factors are, they still need beds, they still need a shower, and they still need a roof, and they will pay for a decent place to live.
They will.
And
I see
so,
that. I
and
see
and
that.
right now in the United States, I think the last number that I read is there's a shortage of 4 million doors for people to live in.
I
So,
see that all the time. Like there is a shortage of housing, and so that's why construction has not stopped. You still see construction everywhere you go, even though interest rates are increasing, even though the price of material is increasing. It's not going to stop building because we can't stop building. There's
right,
still so many people out there that are going to need to buy a home at some point in their lives, and if they don't buy it, they're going to rent it. And if you stop building multifamily, people can't afford to rent a home. You know, it's homes are twice the price of apartments today. So you might as well, I guess, really figure out if you looked at, when I look at investing in anything, there's always risk and environment. We're in an environment right now where the interest rates are going to keep on going up at least for another year, which means the price of a home is going to go out of reach for a lot of percentage of Americans. We also see that there's going to be we already know that there's a shortage of real estate to live in. So, I mean, multifamily just seems like the ideal situation. And we know our government will subsidize this forever too. Like
right,
they will find a way to subsidize housing if it has to come to that. So
right.
it's like a no brainer.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah,
And I mean, let's talk about the real big picture here. Like I mean, the really, really big picture, and that is what I consider your legacy. So
heck yeah.
again, we go back to you can do transactional work, or you can put your effort and time and energy into something that'll build a legacy for yourself, but more importantly for your family, and more importantly for the people around you. And when you have the freedom to travel and take your family with you on traveling, and you have the freedom to have a conversation with a tax planning strategist or an estate planning strategist or someone that's structuring your will and your trusts because you've built wealth and you're building wealth. Those are really cool conversations to have, because you now realize that, David, you're going to continue beyond David, and Paul will continue beyond Paul.
That's right.
And to me, at this juncture in life, to me, that is like the coolest thought, that the stuff that I'm doing and can do is going to live way past me. And
I agree with that.
it makes it makes it all worth it.
I 100% agree with that. In my book, I talk, one of my chapters, actually, one of the four components of an economy as I define it is legacy. And a
Yeah,
legacy, I believe, is a remembrance of us when we leave this earth. Like when we're gone, there's got to be something to remember us by. And the majority of people, I saw a little clip the other day, like a reel or something, and it was a guy talking, and he said, after you die, they bury you. All your friends get together and they just talk about sports and all the things going on in the world, and your employer or your business is looking to replace you. And with it, your spouse and your kids or whoever's left behind, they'll remember you maybe for an hour or two, and then they'll go play with the dog. And in 6 months, in 6 minutes, in some cases, he was saying you're kind of gone. So if you don't leave an impact, it sucks, right? Like it's like you were never even here.
yeah.
And that's an interesting kind of idea to me. That's why I do so much, and that's why I push so hard, because I don't want to leave this world. I want to leave this world better than I found it.
I
That's
think
that's the way I do
you're on a good track.
it.
You're on a
I'm just
real
trying
good
to
track.
put my mark on the world, man.
Yeah, no, no, and it's nice to be around people like that. And it's enriching to be that. That's why my wife and I joined this mastermind that we joined here recently, because this the focus and the intention, the quality of the intention with those people, um, just seem to appeal to us. And by the way, they're people are people, right? People are people. So, but the other thing is, what can we bring to that group that would enrich the group? We have expectations about what we can receive, but our bigger expectation is like, what can we take to that group to help out? And I think
that
that's where the
that
real
that is
juice
right,
is,
man. So as we wind down here, you wanted to leave with any closing remarks about anything about real estate or multifamily in general?
Well, I think just business in general, and I think especially multifamily and real estate, there's opportunity. Yes,
I
we
think
have
so
some
too.
challenges. Yes, there's a spike in the interest rate. Yes, there's a lowering of the leverage or the amount of money that they'll give you. And yes, there's, you know, you're going to get what you focus on. So if you focus on the negativities, you will find them. It's confirmation bias. You will find the negativities all day long. But if you focus on the opportunities, if you focus on what is the potential or what the possibilities are of an economy, of a property, of a business, and the benefits of it, I believe that that's what will expand. That thing that you focus on will expand. So I told somebody the other day they said, well, there's no deals, and I just point blank, it was a student, and I just point blank looked at him and I said, I don't want to hear that. I refuse to accept that. I've been through this. This will now be number four. I've been through this four times. I refuse to accept that. So there are opportunities out there, and I think all of us, if we focus on what the possibilities are, then those possibilities will expand.
Heck yeah, good
Yeah,
good words. Well,
yeah.
well, Paul, we really appreciate you, man. I'm very thankful to have a friendship with you, to understand you, to learn from you, because I'm definitely learned a lot today. Took a lot of notes, man. You definitely gave me some golden nuggets. I hope everybody on here has gotten some good takeaways from this episode. You know, multifamily real estate or any kind of real estate is the best investment. And one of my favorite sayings, actually, you called me the other day and you said, "Hey, when is now the right time?" Right?
Yeah,
It's a great statement, isn't it,
yeah.
to tell somebody? Because most people will say, "Well, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe next year." When is now going to be the right time to make a change, and when is now going to be a good time to invest? And by the way, any of the investment advice we give on this show today, or any of the shows, just so you know it, you should always consult with somebody. You should always
Absolutely.
ask somebody, your financial advisor, your tax professional, your lawyer, your priest. Somebody ask somebody, because we're doing our best here to give you information and hopefully use that information so you can make an educated decision, because everything in life is a ultimately your own decision. That's why we believe everybody should build their own economy, because taking control, living on your own terms, and making decisions and living with those consequences, because I believe everybody is self-made, but only the rich will admit it. So you gotta have an opportunity. You got to be able to take on that opportunity. And I think, Paul, you've been doing that all your life, man. Congratulations on all your success, and thank you so much for being a guest here today.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here, David.